Yeah.
Let's see here. All right, we're live.
Okay.
All right, you guys, let's get some people in the chat room. But this is another edition of Living and Doing Business in Africa. The Kenya edition. Mucoki. Did I say the last name right? Mucoki?
Mucoki, yeah.
Like kind of like, not like Choma. In fact, man, you missing out on. They have any Choma spots? Have you found any places in
I make my own, man.
Choma?
I make my own.
Make your own Choma?
Yeah, my own Choma and kachumbari.
Yeah, that's the like the salsa, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, they told me that's not salsa. Don't you call that salsa when I was
it's kachumbari. Yeah.
Kachumbari. Yes, sir. So, everybody in the chat room, get the likes up. Make sure you hit the like button, you guys. So, the purpose and the objective of these videos is to give Black people, Black Americans, or the diaspora, a true idea of what it's like to live in Africa. And also, I know I've seen a lot of people romanticizing, especially that diaspora, relocating to Africa, as far as, hey, I got $100, can I live in Africa, or can I live in a specific country and make it? Tough. I'm not going to be negative and say it's impossible, but it's going to be very, very tough. So, I just want to give Africans or people of the diaspora who have lived or are currently doing business or are currently living in Africa, give you guys an idea and a true perspective of how life in Africa is and how you could do business in Africa. Because of course, you want to be in a position to support your families and make a living and pay your bills and live a great life in Africa. It doesn't make sense in America and you're struggling here and complaining about the system here, then you get to a country in Africa and you're still struggling. So Maina, thank you for coming on. Tell people where you're from and what all you do and all that good stuff.
Okay. Hey, Dennis, thanks a lot, man. My name's Maina. Originally from Kenya, grew up in Nairobi, to the States some good years ago, in the 90s. Currently, I'm in Sacramento. I work for a real estate company. I'm in marketing. But the essence of what we're talking about here is some more than that. It's about the possibilities and opportunities in Kenya, especially. We're just starting this discussion with, and we're just kind of some ideas on how to encourage people to either travel there or get a connection with Kenya, especially. So, about what I'm doing and what attracted me to actually talking to you today.
Cool. So you're born in Kenya. When did you leave Kenya to come to?
So I've been here for a while. I came here in '93. I've been here off and on. I've lived continuously for, I left for a while in the early 2000s and then I came back. And at the time I was in the early 2000s, I lived also in Tanzania for a couple of years, and also lived in South Africa for a while. Well, I visited for an extended amount of time. I went to Durban, and also lived in Kenya for a while, where I met my wife and we moved back here. So lived in DC, lived all over the States. I've lived mostly in, where I lived for a couple of years. I lived in New York for about a year. I lived in Georgia for a while, Southern California, and now I'm in Sacramento. So moved quite a bit. So one of these fine days, I'm thinking of actually moving back to Kenya. So I've been what I would want to do with the connections that I have already here, and yeah, I'm thinking of what I can do when I move back, whenever I move back. I haven't made up my mind exactly when I'll be moving, but maybe and finding a link that will keep me connected to the society here and back in Kenya.
Right. Let me ask you this: what was the reason for you leaving Kenya and coming to America?
So I'm to school. Like many other countries, Kenya is pretty stable. You wouldn't find too many people running away from any war or anything like that from Kenya. Guys who come, or people who come from Kenya, are mostly people looking for education. So I came to school for a while, and then now I'm working full time or at a professional job. So I've worked in San Francisco for a while, Sacramento for a while. I worked in the LA area in Orange County for a while. So it's worked until now.
Now I've been to Nairobi twice. I've been to Kenya. Actually, I've been to Kenya 3 times. Actually, did you grow up in Nairobi? Like, what part of Kenya did you grow up in?
I grew up in Nairobi, suburb called Kileleshwa.
Okay.
Yeah.
How far is that from the wetlands? I know the wetlands.
To Westlands? Yeah,
Westlands.
Westlands and Kileleshwa. Yeah, very close to each other. It's more or less less than 15 minutes to Westlands. What were you doing in Nairobi?
Oh, I go to Kisarian. Right, I know people in Nairobi. So
Yeah. Oh, in Kisarian, I know where that is. Yeah.
yeah. So I go to Kisarian and
Okay.
I spend some time with the Maasai. I stay out there a couple of nights in the
Yeah.
village, and then I have friends in Nairobi as well, and I stay with them. So I got some people in Nairobi. I've been like I said, I've been 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
I was there maybe it was probably 2 years ago. 2 years ago I was there.
Okay.
Nairobi, yeah, I did Nairobi. Then I went to Tanzania, Zanzibar, um, and whatnot. But yeah, I've been in Nairobi. Love Nairobi.
Yes.
And
So
I watched a report once how how bad the traffic was supposed to be in Nairobi.
yeah.
But I didn't. I mean, when I was there, I mean, the roads were great, the infrastructure was good. I didn't have any issues, or I didn't see any issues with the infrastructure. Um,
It's gotten better. Let me say that.
oh, it's gotten
It's
better.
gotten a
So
lot better. I think traffic is still an issue, but I think they're building a lot of feeder roads and bypasses that are making it easier for people to move from point A to point B. I think for a long time there hasn't been much development in the so that's why there was such a backlog of um, I think now it's a different scenario. Roads, like the road now I use when I go back there is wider than I've ever seen it before. There's a road called the Southern Bypass that passes right next to the national park, and that is a sweet road to be on. I mean, it's like, yeah, things have improved a lot.
okay.
Yeah,
Like I said, I was impressed. I didn't think it was. I would say the infrastructure in Nairobi was better than Dar es Salaam. That was my opinion.
yeah, that's true. I think I've lived in both cities, and Dar es Salaam has a long way to go. I think in terms of especially putting asphalt on the ground and making roads without any dust, they are still quite far behind.
Mm-hmm. So life in Nairobi, like so I moved to Nairobi. You know, how much is like if I wanted in a good area that's safe and clean. You know, like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath flat or apartment. Like, what kind of numbers are we looking at as far as rent, or wanting to buy, or wanted to buy?
Let's start with rent. Let's start with rent. I think some of the good places to live, South B, or a place called Kileleshwa where I grew up. Places that have good access to either the downtown area,
okay,
and really good places, Westlands, especially for if you want to be around where things are happening, a lot of shopping, and also other places like Karen, which are a little further on and really high class. Those are pretty out of the way in terms of cash because they get really expensive. But I want to talk about maybe a place called Kilimani, Kileleshwa, Riara. All those are really nice middle class areas where you'll find a really good setup. Kenya had an issue in the beginning, especially if you lived in those areas with water supply, but now I guess water is not an issue.
I want to stop you real quick. I drunk the water. Now people say I'm crazy.
Yeah.
I drank the water in Nairobi, and that shit was good. I love it. It was so delicious. That was the best water I ever had. But go ahead, finish your story. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, we also drink it. So for when I was there a few years ago, I would pay something like 50 for a 3-bedroom. Really nice setup. Maybe 3 floors above, and the apartment had a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, and I was paying something like 55,000 Kenya shillings, which is I want to say about $600.
That's not bad.
And the finishing was really good. I think initially the finishing was really bad, but now we're talking about 600 being at the top of the line, and that was maybe 10 years ago. That's when I was living there, and now the price is maybe 10 or 15% more. I think you'll find in Kilimani something going really good. If you really want really secure areas, you'll pay maybe $750 for a nice setup with a garage with good security outside. So yeah, the prices are not too bad, and these are really the really good places where you would suggest somebody to live who probably wants to go out at night and do stuff at night. So, and also come in late at night. So those are areas that I would suggest. And then you have also, when you go closer to like South B, you'll get places from 300 to about $400 a month. And these are in good places also, secure and everything. And with that, you get with that, you'll get a parking spot and a nice yard, and life is pretty and the best part about Nairobi, I better add this, is the food. Food is really cheap.
Oh yeah.
If you go shopping for $400, you've kind of cleared the whole month's bill for resources for your house or groceries for the house. So yeah, the best part is that the food especially gets really cheap when you live in Nairobi. Yeah.
Well, see, in my opinion, I think it's less expensive to live in East Africa than it is West Africa, because West Africa is expensive as hell, especially when you get into those more kind of like exclusive areas.
Yeah,
it's way more expensive. All right, so if I'm I guess, an expat,
yeah,
and I relocate to Kenya, how how hard is it to become a citizen and get a passport and all that? Is it just better to get married like the Europeans do when they go over there and find a black wife?
I probably am not the best person to answer this, but I know the fact that I think if you got married to a Kenyan, take about seven or so years to get some form of residency. I'm not exactly sure how that works. I wanted to apply for one. Man, I really don't know how it's done, but I could find out and get back to you on that.
Right? Okay, all right, no problem.
Yeah.
Now we have a question in the chat room, and I think Kenya somewhat had a bad reputation, and it's not the Kenya's fault. I guess the whole, and I felt completely safe when I was in Nairobi or Kenya in general. You know,
Yeah.
someone was asking about El Shahab.
Yeah, Bob. Yeah.
Yeah. And I told him the Somalians that I encountered in Nairobi were cool. I had no issues with them. Can you
Yeah.
can you somewhat speak on that? Like, I didn't have any issues with any Somalians, or, you know, I guess there were a lot of Sudanese refugees in Kenya and Nairobi as well when I was there. Can you
Yeah.
expand on that?
Let me start by saying that Kenya supports or has something like 500,000 refugees, mostly from Somalia. And this is because Somalia is unstable, hasn't had a government for the last maybe 20 or so years. It has one now, but I mean, it's not as stable as they wanted. There was some guerrilla guys who used to come over to Kenya, kidnap people from the resorts at the coast, which is really close to Somalia, and caused a lot of anxiety, and it caused the tourism industry to kind of fade off a little. So what Kenya did was not invade, but they joined the African Union to go to Somalia to kind of stabilize a few of the areas in now that caused an issue because now the Somali Al-Shabaab invasion, and I could be wrong on this, but they decided that they have to hit back. What happens now with the attacks is that it's all around very in Somalia, and now it's so far into the edge of the borders because, as you heard, there was a while ago when there was an attack town with some militants who attacked a shopping mall. Well, now things have gotten really tight, and if you actually go to any, they'll scan you for any kind of weapons or anything like that, because you need more security in Nairobi, and this has pushed any kind of terrorists out from the centers now all the way to the border of Kenya and Somalia. And the big story is that now they're doing really small little attacks on a place called Mandera, which is in northern Kenya, really right at the yeah. So they're still trying to do a few things, but the army and the air force in Somalia are really trying to settle things in Somalia, and it's helping a lot. Some refugees have started moving back. Long way to go. Anything like scared of being attacked in Nairobi at all for any kind of Shabab, but you never know. But most cases than none, I think things have kind of settled, and now it's all at the periphery of between Kenya and Somalia.
Yeah, because I know when I went to some of the malls in, I don't think I went to the. I might have actually. I think I did go to the Westgate Mall.
Yeah, the Westgate Mall.
I think I did go, but I know security, like going into the mall, you go through metal detectors, they empty your pockets and everything. So you're right about that as far as security.
Yeah, and that has helped a lot, I think. Yeah.
Let's talk about this. Chinese and Indian influence in Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
Me personally, I feel like Chinese and Indians, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is what I observed, pretty much control the economies of a lot of countries in East Africa. What are your thoughts on that in regards to Kenya?
They control the retail aspect of the economy, and retail includes the grocery stores, where you buy your shoes and everything. In terms of being liquid, in terms of money, I think they're also very. But I think the tides are changing in Kenya. I think they're known internationally as very good shopkeepers, and you go even anywhere in the States, you'll find Indian and Pakistani. But in Kenya, they also have the same thing. But I think now things are changing a lot.
Yeah, I think you were going in and out. Can you repeat that just one more time?
So I think things are changing a lot, and I think people are the people who've grown up there, the Kenyans and the Africans. Can you hear me now?
It keeps going in and out. Like I don't know if it's the connection or.
Yeah, mine's pretty strong. My connection's pretty strong.
Okay, so as far as the Indian and Chinese, I know China's pretty much buying up Africa.
What they're doing is they're investing a lot, and I'm sure a few people came to Kenya and they said, "Wow, we could do this and this and this because they have more money." I think there could be a policy in which I'm sure they'll curb all that influence of their money coming in. But I think it's not at a bad level right now. I don't feel it is. The goodness with Kenya is that it's cosmopolitan. The more mix of people from all over the world, I think the better. If you close up too much, I think then you become too single, like too few people from all over the world. I think you don't open up as much. I think Nairobi and Kenya is open to ideas and people coming in, obviously with limitations, but I think there will be policy at some point when it becomes too much. But I think so far, I think it's not too bad. It should be watched, and I think it's at a good level. I think we need competition. We need new ideas coming in. I think Kenyans are good at adopting new things. They bring in a lot more different things that we've never seen before, so we can copy and maybe perfect it. So it's a good, as long as it's not, I mean, they don't start going on the streets and selling stuff, that kind of thing, where they're competing with everybody. So as long as it's kept in check and there's enough understanding of what's going on, I think it should be fine. The Indians have been around for about 100 years plus, and they built the first railway that we saw in Kenya and Uganda. So I don't know whether I saw you talk about the 45th tribe. They were recently acknowledged.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
It could be political. I don't know what the thoughts are, but they are Kenyans. I mean, there's no way we should say a third generation Indian shouldn't be a Kenyan. So I support any kind of acknowledgement of them. I wouldn't say that people should start moving in there and becoming the 45th tribe in 2 days. But if they've got some form of heritage showing that they are Kenyans, then I don't see a problem with that.
Okay. Yeah, it's just, and as I mentioned in my video, I just feel as if, and it's well documented, that when Africans, like when people come to Africa, we roll out the red carpet for them and treat them good and respect them. But when we go to their countries, so that was my whole thing. And I just feel as if African leaders aren't up in defense of their, I guess, their expats or whatever, whatever, that actually go to other countries and are abused. That's just my issue.
Yeah.
And then those people from those countries come to Africa, awesome.
Yeah, yeah. But the goodness with especially like the heritage with it, they've been there for a while. I've had friends in high school. I went to primary school with them. They become your buddies. They don't think of else. I mean, you talk the same. They speak Swahili. They completely get into the culture.
Okay.
If they're not there for anything else, then that's a different thing. But if they call Kenya home and they invest and they don't think of going anywhere else, I think it's fair. You can be called Kenyans.
So someone moves to Kenya, and I know they can, but I just want you to. Can they find pretty much everything in America as far as super fast internet? I mean, all the luxuries we have here in America, so bought and utilized in Kenya.
For sure. Internet in the house, Netflix, you'll find it there. Be able to download a whole bunch of movies. I'm not sure whether it's legal or not, but yeah, a lot of people watch everything that we watch here. Down the street to have a Heineken or a Corona, whatever it is that you want to drink. Yeah, it's pretty much, whenever I go to Kenya, it's like being here without, the US is very convenient. It's well developed. It's a super place to live. Everything is kind of right there. A little rough on the edges, but you'll get whatever you want. Might be slightly more expensive. You'll live like you're. Goodness with Kenya is that a lot of the other things, like for example, if you own a car, or if you have a few extra, for example, if you have a household, you can get somebody to help you out in like washing your clothes, or with a washing machine, or keeping the house clean. And sometimes people frown about it, but you really are helping somebody else who through school or is trying to help their folks in the village or something like that. So there is a lot of help, and your standard of living actually is higher when you go to a place like Kenya and work as an expat than when you're living out here.
What now in outside of Nairobi, you guys have the it's like the Silicon Valley of Africa. How is that? I guess what city is it in? It's right outside of Nairobi. It's like the kind of like the Silicon Valley. The tech.
Yeah,
The tech.
it's called the Conda City. It's still at ground zero. It still hasn't developed yet. But what they're trying to do is create a smart city from scratch. Laying fiber, laying a smart grid, energy efficient houses, laying a plan for people to live and work in the same area. And this is, I think it's about 100 kilometers or less than 100 kilometers away from Nairobi. So I think it will have its own like airport, its own university. It's going to have its own city, pretty much, and it's going to be a smart city. And they're calling it this Conda City. It's a pretty expensive thing to set up. I think that the South Koreans are going to set up a university there. We have, I think the Chinese are setting up something there. A lot of the local developers are already starting to get permits to build and things like that. So this is a 2030 game plan. So they want to say by 2030, a whole bunch of infrastructure has to be set up. So they opened up a high speed.
Can you guys still hear him? Hear Maina? Can you guys hear him? I lost him. I mean, not completely, but it must be something on my end. Just on my end, it's me. There's a delay. It's just I don't know, man. I got Xfinity, this Comcast internet. I guess it just sucks.
That's what I use.
Yeah, it's definitely because everybody hears you in the chat fine. So I did a video saying that Kenya is the future in Africa because of the technology, the infrastructure. What are your thoughts on that? Like, can you expand on that?
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. Actually, my wife was on YouTube, and she's the one who found that. And I was like, whoa, who's this guy who has so much promise for Kenya? And I think what you've seen in Kenya is something that should have happened maybe 10 or so years ago. Had a dry patch for about 24 years where leadership wasn't what was needed for it to grow. So what happened after 2002 was a lot of things changed in the economy and things started moving. The first thing we saw was things are getting done. Roads are starting to get done. The port is clearing out goods from the world faster. To school, getting free education. I remember that was the first thing that he did. And women at the maternity are starting to get, healthcare was picking up. So in the span of 10 years from 2012 to 2002 to 2012, we saw stuff just being reorganized, and Kenya started kind of picking up all the way until we're growing at 7%. After that, then we also had a little bit of a glitch where we had a post-election violence, and it kind of showed Kenyans that you can almost get to the brink to a civil war, and we kind of pulled back and kind of said, okay, this is not what Kenya needs. We've since moved forward and pumped in a lot of money into infrastructure. I think you've noticed that even in East Africa, I think Kenyans pumping more into infrastructure than all the other places. The most interesting part about all this growing was the fact that Kenya is also becoming communication and also internet technology. So around 2007, we got mobile transfer on our mobile phones. Kenya is known for its transfer on the phone, which is the most convenient thing. Every time I go to Kenya, load it up with maybe $300-400 or something like that, and that's all I need. I don't need to carry cash. I don't need to do anything. I go to the local supermarket or go to the kiosk down the street, fill up the tank on the car. Everything is done with a mobile phone, and an aspect of technology that hasn't even gotten here yet, or any loopholes for it to be as convenient as it is in Kenya. So with that, an ecosystem of people who are like-minded in technology started thinking of, oh, what other options can we do? And so there's a bit of a buzz in Kenya about people getting involved in technology. And we've got a lot of people involved in agriculture. There's an M-Farm app. It could be anywhere in the country. They don't need to know the price of corn or anything. They just have to text using their phone. So Kenyans have started getting really excited about technology, and they're using it towards their businesses more efficient. So the other thing that, in fact, it was yesterday I was reading in the paper that Kenya transferred almost half its GDP on mobile transfer, not needing any kind of paper money or credit cards or anything like that. So, I mean, it just shows how people are willing to use money. And it's something about trust of technology and also knowing that we need to adapt and move ahead. So we've seen a lot of that going on. So as you were saying, that Kenya was probably kind of looking really forward in terms of trying to get ahead. I think it's kind of true in some ways. And I think the psyche of everyone in Kenya is kind of trying to hustle and trying to get ahead with business more efficiently and just kind of moving ahead. I think they get a lot of inspiration from, especially like the Chinese who are, and seeing a lot of the stuff that they've done. We had Jack Ma, the guy of Alibaba, come into Kenya, and there was a huge buzz of him talking to like university students or going out to different places and talking about what technology can do for you. And a lot of startups in Kenya, we could be the next Google, we could be the next Facebook and stuff like that. So people are really interested. On the other flip side of it, Kenya is also blessed with a lot of things and also not blessed with others. So stuff like oil, Kenya doesn't have any oil, it's never exported any oil. So we've had to make diverse. So we've got things like infrastructure. I mean, we've got tourism, which is big, agriculture, which is one of the biggest, and now horticulture, which is also one of the main things that's driving a lot of the growth, especially in the rural areas. A lot of other industries, we're starting a lot of manufacturing, which is starting to grow along like corridors of growth, like along the all that kind of thing. We've got a lot of energy that to be tapped, geothermal. I think we're drilling more geothermal, making the economy green more than just having things like coal and to gas up the economy. So yeah, there's certain aspects of what you were saying in that particular thing were true, and I think leadership is definitely the main thing that needs to be. If we continually have a good leadership and less corruption, which dogs the whole place, which a whole lot of scandals that come out once in a while and just kind of mess you up because you just kind of feel like, man, we're trying to move ahead and all these other guys in there trying to out of the economy. So yeah, as long as all those things are taken care of and leadership is strong and the foresight of looking ahead, I think Kenya can make a. We've been able to grow at least 5.5% every year over the last, and that is because of aspects of things like we don't have oil or we don't depend on commodities for the international markets. All the other countries, Zambia and Ghana and Nigeria, have been affected tremendously. Their foreign exchanges have been depleted because of knowing that what they produce is mostly commodity based, like raw materials and stuff like that. They're lucky and unlucky that we don't have oil and all those other commodities, but it's also good. It could be a good buffer to have some commodity to buff up the exports. But we depend primarily on agriculture and just industry and stuff like that. So yes, it's a bright future, but I think a lot more work needs to be done.
Yeah, I was going to say the elections are coming up.
Yeah, next week.
Next week?
Yeah, on Tuesday.
Like, is that soon?
Yeah.
So who do you think is gonna between Kenyatta and is it Oginga?
Well, we've had the polls go, and I think it makes a difference if you're on the ground. I can't sense from all the social media and all the polls that have been done, I can't sense what's going on the ground. I think I could be wrong, but a lot of people are saying they really can't call it.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty. It could go either way. And the goodness with this time round, I think there's not much that can happen if it goes one way or the other. Both leaders are thinking of pretty well. So yeah, being Kikuyu, it doesn't mean that I support Uhuru. I think I would prefer somebody who's interested in making that country go, get the opportunities it needs to get, and to the point with which it starts developing much faster.
Yeah. So you think if it's either how do you pronounce it? Is it Raila Oginga?
Raila
Oginga and Uhuru. You think
it
doesn't matter which one; they'll both be good for the country.
I think the foundation of the country is pretty strong. So whoever gets in, I think this is my guess. I think people know they have to deliver. So whoever gets in knows it's not they're not going to be at the beach. You know, they're going to have to work hard and take the country ahead.
Okay. As far as so going to Kenya, like what's there to? Oh, in fact, let's back up for a second. Work and business opportunities. Expat relocating to Kenya. What opportunities are there as far as to, make money? I know we talked, we're going to get into that too. We talked about doing safaris.
Yeah, yeah. I think
tourism.
the depends on what your field is. I think, for example, if I was to go into Kenya right now as an American, having worked in the commercial real estate, there's so much more I know here than I think the one thing that you would need to do is start and figuring out how to start a business and figuring out what you need. You can start a business in Kenya in 2 days or 3 days. So running on the third day that you're there. So that part of it is not an issue. I think the thing there, and even every time I go back, I haven't lived there in a while, is creating those networks. And I think that you can deliver. And the mindset of, and oh, these guys want to understand, that doesn't exist. I think people want to know, are you going to be able to deliver? Like, I would go into things like media. A lot of people are, if you're into media, the media industry is starting to grow up quite a bit. Is tourism, and tourism is huge because it's the biggest industry in the world. I would probably know that have already started a tour company, and the big thing about it is that being connected to the States and trying to connect both societies together is one big thing and one big aspect of tourism that we have. So that is something that would make a big difference. As we're talking earlier, I think starting from basics, if you want to just get a truck and carry people around all the national parks and everything, great demand. As you know, in between and February, we have the great migration from Ngorongoro, to Masai Mara, south of Kenya. So it goes through in Tanzania. So that's a big deal, and the whole country just kind of, we have people from all over the world just coming into the country. So that's huge. I think that's one avenue of a job or an industry someone can take advantage of. And then if you have the link of being able to get people from the States to Kenya, that would be huge. And then food. I have a friend who moved back a couple of years ago. Restaurant, if you're a chef, make sure it's top notch and people will pay for it. I know a couple of guys who went back and they started doing treks all the way and going up on trails and taking people to climb Mount Kenya and Mount Kilimanjaro and stuff like that. And so I think if you have a good idea, it's all about execution, and a lot of people are very open to seeing a lot of new businesses come up and new experiences. And those are needed there if you know yoga or a Keep Fit or a gym trainer, or if you want to start off a gym and just make it really good, things that will pick up really quick. A lot of people in Kenya are looking for things that emulate what's going on in the States. You know, they want to know that, okay, I go to this gym, it looks like a 24-hour fitness, and stuff that isn't there yet. And it may cost a lot of money to get in there, but maybe you can figure out something on this side. So
now, as far, you mentioned it only takes 2 days to I guess get a business license to. Oh, let me turn this off real quick. Sorry about that. So it takes only 2 days to do to get a business license to Kenya. I mean, what's the process for that? Do you just go, like, where do you go to? I know here, like, you go to the Secretary of State, and you pay.
So what I would suggest is going get a lawyer. He'll probably charge you a couple of $100, but he'll get he'll get the stuff done for you. So with a lawyer, it'd probably take another maybe couple of days or something like that, but it's an easy process.
Okay. Yeah. What's usually the cost behind it? You know, as far as just getting started as far as licensing and I guess getting a lawyer? Do you have an idea of how much one should spend?
Yeah,
Ballpark.
ballpark maybe $400-500. I think
Okay,
the actual cost would maybe be $200-300, and then all the lawyer fees and all that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you would recommend getting a lawyer just to help you navigate through the system?
It's much easier, and even guys who live there will still use a lawyer just cause in the process, and they're pretty fast and you get it done pretty quickly. The good, you don't have to line up or go up to any kind of office and try and get stuff done. All you do is just go to his office and get stuff done there.
All right, cool. Now, as far as when we deal with tourism, are there any special licenses you need to get to be to take people on tours and get a part of to be in that industry outside of just the standard business license?
So there is the business license, and then you've got to have your car tested for roadworthiness and to be I think they call it what's it called? It has to be since you're going to have paying customers, you have to have it be roadworthy for paying customers. I think the thing is, it's called what?
Like an EIN number, kind of like we got out here, tax ID number.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So they'll check everything. A lot of are rigged in Nairobi. You get a Land Cruisers that they have here. I mean, they don't have those Land Cruisers here in the States, but it's a kind of stripped down Land Cruiser. They kind of extend the chassis and rig up a van top on it, so you could get a pickup and just kind of rig it into that costs quite a bit. I think within the range of maybe $50,000.
Wow.
For the total cost.
Yeah. That 50,000?
$50,000. Because that costs about $5 million. So yeah, it's about 50,000. Yeah. Sure. But once you have it done, I know that's quite a bit. Yeah. But once you have it done, you'll get quite a lot of business. The truck has to have a driver who's certified by the tour operator organization. I don't know what it's called. And you also have to join certain organizations like the Tour and Tour Association of Kenya or something like that. So there are a whole lot of fees and other regulations that you need to get involved with. Those are not prohibitive. I think the only thing that really costs a lot of money is the truck. But obviously, if you can get a loan or something like that, that makes it easier. You can also get a van. Do you ever remember seeing any vans in the national parks if you ever did go?
No, primarily it was the safari mobiles, like, the open top.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, all 4x4s. I didn't see any vans out there. Yeah, the roads, when you get to start going to the safari, the roads get pretty rough. So
yeah, they do. Yeah. So yeah, that's why they insist. In fact, in Tanzania, you can't get into any of the national parks without a 4x4. So yeah. So yeah, and I think the costs are quite steep getting in, as with many businesses that pay back pretty fast. So so the rent for the truck for a day, and this is where it makes sense, is it's about $100 a day. So during this time of January or July to you'll get a lot of July, August, September, completely packed. As long as there's nothing going on in the economy, I think you'll pretty much have all those days filled up making money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, someone in the chat room said, this is Atticus now. He's actually Kenyan.
Oh, yeah.
He said, unless you are prepared to get into bed with the local government forget big investment projects such as infrastructure off that market a long time ago. How do you feel about that?
About investing in infrastructure?
Yeah, he's saying pretty much the Chinese have that on lock. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Do the Chinese pretty much have all the large investment opportunities on lock in Kenya?
Yeah, and cause of, obviously I don't know what's going on there, or maybe they've kind of locked it down. But the problem with the Chinese model of investment is they want you to use their banks, use their surveyors and the people who are going to spec out the project, their materials. They want you to use their professionals. They want you to use their money. They want you to use. So the whole chain is theirs, and that's how I think they get back a lot of those projects. And so I guess in the government, I guess they've already nailed some of these projects, and I wouldn't go into infrastructure. I don't think it's worth it, unless it's within the rural areas where you can kind of set up your own gig and you don't have that much specialization. But when it's a huge infrastructure thing, I don't think it works. Yeah. The first thing about getting into that ever.
With all this African ingenuity, Kenyan ingenuity, you have the Silicon Valley of Africa in Kenya. Why can't Kenyans just build their own shit? The same thing with, African countries in general. Why do we need the Chinese to come in, the Japanese, the Indians? Like, why can't we just build our own shit? Because you don't see us over there building for them, but they come over to Africa and build. What are your thoughts on that? Why is that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think first of all, I think even the models of investment should be different. From China should not be able to have is 100% Chinese. It should be like 30% Kenyan or something like that, so that at least there's a lot more we're getting out of it. I don't know what the deals are anyway, but I think, to be honest, in terms of exposure to large projects, and this is me being naive because I don't know what the scale of all the engineers are in Kenya right now. It would be better if we trained a whole bunch of guys to go to China and come back and start building stuff like that. But I think we need to figure out a way that can happen, and I don't think Kenya's there yet. Lagging behind with this infrastructure, so maybe it's something we have to do now, get this done, and then probably lock it down maybe in another 10 years and say, okay, any big project has to be done locally, so that we can get to a point where now we can make that decision. Right now we have almost nothing, and we can't really, might be selling our souls a little, but I think at some point we've got to, the Chinese might be the fastest way to get this stuff done. The Brentwood institutions can't do it for us without us letting blood or something. So it's I think, matter of just us figuring it out and making a plan to make sure that in 10 years or so, we don't have to be so dependent on Chinese coming in to build. They've done a great job, but I think it will come to a point where we've got to start saying, hey, we've got to do this thing ourselves. Now that a lot of knowledge transfers happening with all those projects, time may be coming sooner than we think, and I'm hoping that's the case, that a lot of these guys who've been trained to build all that infrastructure will now be able to start taking lead in some of these projects. The one good thing is that a lot of these guys who build like the railway, which was recently, are still available. So a few other projects are going to come up. The train goes all the way to Kigali, so a whole lot of these guys might end up even working in Uganda or Tanzania. And so the pool and the knowledge pool might get bigger and bigger as time goes on. And I'm sure that's how the Chinese started. That's how the Indians and the Americans and everybody else started. So it's a matter of us just figuring that stuff out. Still need to churn out people who have those kind of skills, and I'm hoping that this is a testament for them to start figuring out what they need to in school. I would want them to stay for a little bit. I'm not saying that we can do it ourselves yet. I think we need to learn a little bit more of what's going on. And I think we'll understand more when we've been able to see what's possible and how people are going to start thinking, oh, you know what, as a kid, I want to be an engineer who's going to build up a big or a big whatever. Yeah.
When do you think is the best time to visit Kenya? Like, when's the rainy season is going on now, right?
Yeah. Well, the rainy season is about to end. I guess it ended. This is August, and it depends where you are. I think in the central part, it's been raining still a little bit. Best time to go for, like when you go. When did you go? When did you go to Kenya?
I usually go in December.
Yeah, December is a good time. December. It becomes a good time because I can go and see family because it's Christmas and everyone's around and it's from North America.
When I went, it was cold. Like it was cool. Like, it was real cool. Usually it's hot when I go to like November, December. Anywhere I go to, it's hot as hell. When I was in Nairobi, it was in Kenya and Jino, especially Kiseri, it was real cool. Like it was weird. Like it was.
Yeah,
it was,
I mean,
like it was chilling.
The Nairobi weather is very interesting. They say it's one of the best places to have a capital because the temperatures don't get too high unless it's humid. I think it ranges from 69 to 75 at the most.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good weather. But yeah, another good time would be, especially for tickets, and the best time to travel when you want to get good tickets is the first part of the year, from after the December rush, which is early January, to get tickets. Like even from San Francisco, I can get a ticket for about $800.
Yeah, so tickets. I tell people tickets, and see, and the misconception is people think tickets to Africa are so expensive.
Yeah.
Like I have people saying, "Oh, I got a ticket to certain countries in Africa. To Africa was $2,000." I'm like, what? Every ticket I bought to any country in Africa, I could find them with like only just one layover, and sometimes even direct, depending on the country, for less than $1,000.
Yeah, and from the East Coast, I think it's even cheaper during that time that I was saying. Yeah, it's and you also have to book early. If you're traveling 2 weeks and you want to buy a ticket, you pay $3,000. If you plan, you'll get that ticket a third of the price. So it's definitely a planning game. Like if I'm going to Kenya, that was when I would be thinking of trying to get a ticket, just so as to lock it down and it's paid for and everything. So yeah. Another thing about going to Kenya, I think, is that it's quiet. For example, if you're going to the coast, Kenya has the coast. It has the Rift Valley. It has all these other places. During that time, it's a low season for tourists. So go to the hotels, they're cheaper. Go to the game parks, it's cheaper, and all that kind of thing. So it also depends on how you want to plan and experience stuff.
Well, it's getting late out here. It's 11:10. Get up early in the morning.
Yeah.
Maina, I appreciate you coming on. And again, I just think, we need to have real dialogue between the diaspora, Africans, and really talk about how we could come together, work together, live together,
correct,
together. People need a true and real perspective on Africa from Africans who were actually born in Africa and lived in Africa, or from the diaspora who relocated to Africa. That's why with my platform, I make sure I engage Africans as much as possible. You see these platforms and, you have people talking on behalf of on behalf of Africans, but not in their best interest.
Correct.
And then so I just want to make sure that people like yourself and Africans come on and to truly expect, so there's no confusion and no romanticism. But I mean, in closing, is there anything you want to share? I mean, how people could contact you if they have any questions? I know you have the tour company in Kenya. You know, if you want to shout that out,
Yeah.
as far as people coming to Nairobi or Kenya or Tanzania that they need a guide and want to go on safaris, go ahead and shout them out and give them information.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate this. So we've got a travel company, got a travel company in Nairobi, and it can travel all over East Africa. So we've got a good driver, a good setup. I think my aim with this is to get people to get into experiential tourism. And what do I mean by that is go see the animals, go see everything else, but also let's go and see Kenyans. Let's go visit villages. Let's go see what schools are doing. So I would want to build that up as part of the whole package. So school, understand what people go through on day-to-day living, meet up to people in Nairobi, maybe at a local club, just kind of get the sense of what Kenya is all about. Nairobi, going to Masai Mara, going to a hotel in Laikipia and jetting out, that is not Kenya. Let's go visit people are going through of who Kenyans are. And that's basically what we're trying to do. And I'll send an email or my Facebook page on SRI. And we're not trying to make it an package deal or anything like that. It's more of whatever discounts we can get is we want to get people in and also out of the country without damage to your bank account. So if it's something like you wouldn't go to the topmost, at least you'll be in Nairobi and see a lot more other things that you can do. We want to make sure that you go see a Maasai village, and we can organize that and all that kind of stuff. But the connection, especially from this side to Kenya, and trying to build a society so that we'll have issues about, oh, we have no clue where to go, we don't understand Africa. I'm trying to make this work for both sides and to experience that. And on the other side, people also being able to get employment and show you around and do all that for you on that side. So yeah, I don't have much else. I'll send you a link to my Facebook page and maybe you can share it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do. Email that to me. Maina, again, thank you so much. You know, when I come to Sacramento, we're gonna have some shoma.
Oh, for sure. With some
you ever come to Atlanta at all?
That was the first place I landed, but I haven't been there since. No, I've never been. But if I ever do, definitely I'll call you up.
Yeah, because they have some Kenyan restaurants out here.
There's a big Kenyan community out there.
Yeah, so they have Kenyan restaurants out here. So
cool.
Y'all, I appreciate it. Everybody in the chat room, thank you for coming through and supporting. Again, this weekend we should be doing living and doing business in Africa, South African edition, and Angola. So again, just want to make sure you guys get the details and a true perspective and the right information on relocating to Africa, doing business, and all that good stuff. So, Maina, I appreciate it. Chat room, I appreciate it. I'm going to bed. It's 11:15 out here. I got to get up early in the morning. Maina, I'm going to give you a call again tomorrow morning. We'll wrap tomorrow.
Okay, cool.
All right, man. I appreciate it, you guys.
Thank you. All the best, man. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody, good night.
Good night.